All bran for breakfast. A much nicer way to keep your system regular than taking medicine.
Free for All first aired in October of 1967 to over 11 million viewers. It was written and directed by McGoohan under the pseudonym Paddy Fitz. McGoohan's original detailed history of the village, from the drainage system to the costumes, was brought to life by the production team, including producer David Tomlin, script editor George Markstein, and art director Jack Champagne. McGoohan was by nature an independent spirit with humility, hence him using pseudonyms for both writing and directing credits. But he did love working with the team on The Prisoner, and he gave them full credit in the few interviews available. Can you imagine the vibe on set after shooting a great scene from The Prisoner, and everyone thinking, yeah, this is going to blow their minds?
I mean, first of all, David Tomlin and I have been talking about it for years, ever since we first met, that concept, for years, and what form to do it in. And David will still go on himself doing things of that nature, you know, as I will. We do other things in between, but we've always, so there's David. Bernard Williams understood. He's another man who has this sort of isolation thing, and he understood every rhythm of it. Another man that understood it. Now, these are the people that totally understood. These are the only people that totally understood. Jack Champagne, our art director.
As a side note, the guitar parts in the iconic intro music were played by historic session player and Herman's Hermits guitarist, Vic Flick. Vic used his white 1961 Fender Stratocaster on everything from Tom Jones, Rusty Springfield, to the famous riff from the James Bond soundtrack. He sold his guitar to Rick Harrison on Pawn Stars for $55,000. Then it got sold onto a private collector in Australia for just $25,000. On a different day in auction, it could have made a lot more. The famous ball chairs used by Number 2 were designed by Era Arnio in 1963. This chair was also seen in the films Tommy and Men in Black. I have sat in one of these and they're quite claustrophobic. They certainly dull one's hearing, but originals now go for big money.
The chair coming up out of the floor was designed by the art director, the designer, and then the mechanics of that would be done by whomever.
The village is more than a setting, it's a character in its own right. It's Orwellian surveillance, enforced conformity, and a veneer of utopia. Create a dystopian environment where individuality is systematically eradicated. The election in Free for All epitomizes the village's modus operandi, presenting the illusion of freedom whilst maintaining absolute control. The architecture and design of the village, with its picturesque yet claustrophobic layout, further emphasize the juxtaposition between appearance and reality. The cheerful colours and idyllic scenery mask the underlying oppression, much like a political system that projects an image of fairness whilst perpetuating inequality. Free for All is a scathing critique of democracy, or rather, the illusion of democracy. The episode underscores how elections can be manipulated to serve the interests of the ruling class, leaving the populace with no real choice. This theme is chillingly relevant in today's political landscape, where voters often feel trapped between parties offering superficial differences whilst maintaining the status quo. I started voting around 40 years ago and quickly came to the conclusion that A. all politicians are liars and dictators, and B. all politicians do what the paymasters tell them to do. The script to the political film we find ourselves locked into may have some character rewrites along the way, but the story and ending have already been decided. In this part of history, is it actually possible for the people to rip the script up, write their own, and hire a whole new cast? The jury's out on that one, but what I would say is that we're being bombarded with snake oil salesmen. We're on your side. No, they aren't. They are the gatekeepers and data collectors. The episode opens with our hero being called on the phone, steadfastly refusing to answer to his prescribed number.
What do you want?
Number 6?
I said, what do you want?
You are number 6?
That is the number of this place.
After a terse exchange, number 2 arrives at the door, faster than a Jehovah's Witness.
Good morning, good morning. Any complaints?
Yes. I'd like to mind my own business.
So do we. Do you fancy a chat?
The mountain can come to Muhammad.
And after the Everest quip, number 6 asks, according to Hoyle.
Play it according to Hoyle.
All cards on the table.
Hoyle was the person who wrote a book explaining the rules governing many games. And what is life but a game? Number 2, played in this episode by Eric Portman, embodies the bureaucratic charm of the village's ruling elite.
You may rely on that.
Whose move?
Yours only.
His portrayal of number 2 is both suave and menacing, reflecting the duplicitous nature of power in the village. Eric Portman was a distinguished English actor, renowned for his commanding presence and nuanced performances on stage and screen. Born in Halifax, Yorkshire, Portman trained as an actor at the Theatre Royal in Halifax before making his London debut in 1924. He quickly established himself as a versatile performer, capable of handling both dramatic and comedic roles. His film career flourished during the 1940s and 50s, when he became known for his performances in British wartime cinema. His notable roles included The 49th Parallel, a stirring wartime propaganda film where he played a Nazi officer, A Canterbury Tale, and The Colditz Story.
I've decided to withdraw certain privileges from you as a whole.
Number 6, our resolute protagonist, is drawn into the village master's latest charade, an election to appoint a new number 2.
I meant run for office. Whose? Mine, for instance.
The premise is deceptively straightforward. Number 6 is nominated as a candidate and is pitted against the current number 2. The election, as we'll soon discover, is nothing but a cruel farce, a microcosm of the broader socio-political landscape.
It looks like a unanimous majority. Exactly, that's what's worrying me. Very bad for morale.
The election process is meticulously designed to appear transparent and collaborative. Number 6 is promised freedom if he wins, a tantalising prospect that fuels his reluctant involvement.
Some of these good people don't seem to appreciate the value of free elections. They think it's a game.
Everyone votes for a dictator.
However, the audience, and number 6 himself, soon recognise the rigged nature of the system.
Anyway, I'll introduce you properly, and you'll see how you feel after assessing the madding crowd.
The villagers, mere pawns in this orchestrated spectacle, cheer and chant in robotic unison, illustrating their utter lack of agency. Honestly, you can drive yourself crazy knowing all this was meant to be allegorical. It's here where we first see number 58, played by Rachel Herbert. Herbert's acting career spanned both stage and screen, though she remains somewhat enigmatic compared to her contemporaries. Beyond The Prisoner, she appeared in television series such as The Avengers and Z-Cars, both staples of British TV in the 1960s. These appearances cemented her reputation as a dependable character actress, capable of embodying diverse roles. Her role as number 58, number 6's assigned assistant, is a masterclass in misdirection.
Zabot,
Anna, mircaistja puksabort.
Zabot.
Her apparent naivete and broken English mask a cunning duplicity. She speaks in an unidentified Slavic-sounding foreign language, adding to the ethos of the village being a globalist petri dish, and in a role of purely being the hired help, we have to wonder what she saw working in records, and which country's records were they?
She has a great variety of information, haven't you, my dear?
Her performance in this iconic series showcased a remarkable versatility, as she seamlessly transitioned from portraying a seemingly naive and subservient character to revealing herself as the cunning and authoritative new number 2.
Don't get het up, my dear fellow.
She will not go away, and she doesn't even speak English.
Precisely.
Putting all your meaning through something which they don't know, and they've got to what they receive is the impetus of what you're doing. So what you're putting over is what you feel, what you mean. It doesn't matter about the word meaning. That's not there anymore.
This duality added depth and intrigue to the episode and made a performance memorable. For me, Rachel and Mary Morris are the two most horrible number 2s in the entire series, testament to their acting skills. One of the most powerful moments in Free for All occurs during number 6's campaign speech, where he stands alongside number 2 addressing the villagers. He says to his fellow inmates, "I am not a number, I am a person," only to be met with howls of laughter.
I am not a number. I am a person.
With palpable disdain in his voice, he questions their allegiance. Whose side are you on? The speech quickly escalates into a blistering condemnation of the village inhabitants, whom he derides as rotten cabbages.
Unlike me, many of you have accepted the situation of your imprisonment and will die here like rotten cabbages.
Keep going, beloved.
McGoohan's delivery is visceral, his tone oscillating between contempt and desperation as he attempts to awaken the crowd from the passive acquiescence.
I intend to discover who are the prisoners and who the warders.
And by the way, someone in the continuity department didn't keep an eye on which of his 2 blazers he should have been wearing. You can see the pipings change from the other scene. Number 6's speech resonates as a call to action, urging individuals to question the status quo and reclaim their autonomy. His visceral tone underscores the urgency of this message, making it one of the most memorable and poignant moments of the entire series.
Which is which? How many of each?
Once you can establish that voting makes no difference in a so-called democratic state, then where do you go from there? Even revolutions ultimately end up with the same set of dictators. And when we see the crowd happily parading through the village, it's no accident that some were wearing black and white checkered glasses. If you know, you know.
That's the great thing, is when they're walking around not thinking and not feeling. That's tough. That's where all the dangerous stuff is, because when you get a mob like that, you can turn them into the sort of gang that Hitler had. We don't want that. We want people who say, "Hey, now wait a minute, you dare do that to me? I'm going to call Lord Great about that."
I like the scene where number 6 is trying to ask his new assistant to take him to the town hall.
Town hall. The town hall.
Pazna.
That's all right. Thank you. I'll walk.
Please try to understand before one of us dies.
When the 2 pressmen jump on the taxi, the photographer doesn't even get a number. He's number 113B. I guess McGoohan didn't much like photographers.
Congratulations.
Come again.
Allow me to introduce myself. I am number 113, and this is my photographic colleague, number 113B.
By the way, the 2 old dears peering over the wall weren't extras. They were just having a cheeky peek. The dialogue here is razor sharp, and we can all relate to the way the press virtually write their own narrative, even when met with
No comment.
We'll tighten up on village security.
Smile!
Can a news outlet ever be totally unbiased in what they present to the public? We know certain government departments can feed stories to reporters to orchestrate a chain of events. We can also clearly see the bias of many news channels when it comes to promoting or denigrating certain politicians. To the lazy reader, a large headline could be all they read, without delving into the actual story. The story itself will be full of wordplay to subtly emphasize the narrative. The phrase "mud sticks" is true in this case because the propaganda is designed to chip away at the masses' psyche. Once you see it, or are aware of it, you can see how cheap this practice is, but never let the truth get in the way of a good story.
How do you feel about life and death?
Mind your own business.
As the photographer runs off, number 6 is beckoned over to the newspaper printing machine by a chap who looks suspiciously like the one who's just run off. We can clearly see a sardonic look directly at the camera by McGoohan, just for a second. And then after Rover allows number 6 passage into the town hall, he's guided down into the courtroom, where you'll notice there are 13 officials there, with number 2's chair being a blatant Freemason symbol, complete with a large blinking eye.
Good shot. Come ahead, my dear fellow.
The other officials are all number 2's, but are designated A through to K. Again here and from the pen of McGoohan, we are treated to razor-sharp dialogue, with number 6's questions to what he calls the tailor's dummies.
Who do you represent? Who elected you? To what place or country do you owe allegiance? Whose side are you on?
Whose side are you on? We could ask the very same questions of the politicians currently inhabiting the House of Commons or Capitol Hill. I would wager my entire life savings that at least 25% of our MPs have directly sold out to foreign adversaries, with another 50% being lent upon by multi-millionaire donors. The remaining 25% are in it purely for the freebies and early pension. Not good for the land of Shakespeare, Turin, Nelson, Newton, and Humphreys. A little joke. McGoohan's highly prophetic line, "Why don't you put us into solitary confinement until you get what you're after?" is still pretty raw, seeing as what we had done to us during lockdown. Not me, I was out in the fresh air.
Why don't you put us all into solitary confinement until you get what you're after and have done with it?
Speaking of which, to this day I still see brainwashed people wearing the masks. Dirty masks that they've had since 2020, and no one's had the heart to tell them Fauci made that up. They then had you banned for questioning any of their decrees. Never forget who did the bidding for them. The useful idiots and the pernicious players who froze your wages, built internment camps, and broke the rules they would lock you up for. They call it democracy.
There's never been a weapon created yet on the face of the earth that hasn't been used. And that thing's going to be used. Unless, I don't know how we're going to stop it now. It's too late, I think.
When number 6 is thrust into number 26's presence, he's greeted by a rather amicable and likeable chap who greets him with the offer of a cup of tea. This calm and pleasant chat is, of course, all part of the interrogation technique.
Honesty attracts confidence, and confidences are the core of our business. See how honest I'm being with you.
We can assume that the tea was laced with chemicals conducive in, let's say, loosening the mind, and some kind of electrical apparatus was applied to take number 6 into a state of hypnosis. All this is to induce a placid state of mind in number 6, who then walks out into the exuberant crowd, all ramped up for the election. When number 6 is back in his residence, probably drinking Morley's tea, he says, "Obey the rules and they will take good care of you."
Although you've only been here a short time, my dear, there's only one thing to learn, and it can be learnt very quickly. Obey the rules, and we will take good care of you.
All this in today's world is painfully familiar. The hand gesture for "be seeing you" represents the all-seeing eye of the surveillance cameras. McGoohan stated that the show had adopted the gesture from the sign of the fish used by early Christians. It's been claimed that Christians used it to recognize other believers during a time when they faced persecution.
That is
Number 6 then has an adverse reaction to whatever they've been drugging him with and sets off on a quest to escape. I love the over-dramatised fall into the water by one of the boat operators. Talk about soft landing. And I can imagine Peter Swanwick's face when he read the script. Is that it? I've done Shakespeare.
Now approaching.
Rover's then left to clean up the situation. After a presumably long sleep, number 6's psychotropic drugs begin to wane, and his dream state begins to unravel prior events.
You are just the sort of candidate we need.
Without pause, he's then subjected to more electrical manipulation, and we cut to the following morning when he's sounding like a true politician, preaching to the masses. The price is cheap. All you have to do is give us information. Have a think on that as you log into Facebook, Instagram and ShitTok.
All you have to do in exchange is give us information.
You are then eligible for promotion to other and perhaps more attractive spheres. From politicians to the social media gatekeepers, they all garner praise from their paymasters. Keep drip feeding the population our rhetoric and you'll see how grateful we can be. Or we'll photograph you in a compromising position and use you that way.
What has been your dream? I can supply it. Winter, spring, summer or fall, they can all be yours at any time.
The political speeches spewed out to the happy campers painfully echo the diatribe we hear every election cycle. Whether you vote right or left, the same in a group control the show. 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Their promises ring richly in your ears.
And I like the speakeasy bar named the Cat and Mouse. Very apt.
Go away.
Gin, whiskey, vodka. Looks the same and tastes the same.
Get out!
The hideaway bar in the caves looks like my local, but with more atmosphere.
There's no surveillance here. This is the therapy zone. Clever, aren't they? Clever, aren't you?
As number 2 chats with number 6, I like the line, if you want to be an alcoholic, you can be one here in perfect privacy, as long as you rejoin the flock. Have a think about all those big business leaders, politicians and celebrities who are currently doing unspeakable things behind closed doors, or even in their exclusive club, all protected as long as they play the game, all blackmailing each other in an ineluctable, seedy, perennial social club.
If you want to be an alcoholic, you can be one here in perfect privacy, so long as you rejoin the flock in good time.
On election day, and still with the drug number 6, the unhappy villagers are shown their apparent new number 2, and is literally led up to the Green Dome building. I bet the film crew were all saying, bloody hell, the sun's out. When number 6 walks into the familiar sanctum of the number 2 residence, a rather excited number 58 plays with all the buttons on the desk, as if to show number 6, hey, look, we have all this in our power. An electrical manipulation is once again applied to number 6 that brings him back to full cognizance. After some brutal slaps from 58, we see what number 6 will do now he has the illusion of power. That is, to wake everyone up and tell them, you're free to go. This scene where the villagers are still apathetically walking around perfectly sums up today's world. Whether literal or allegorical, we are all free. We are under the illusion that the current tosspots in Westminster, Red Square or Capitol Hill have the power over you. A nation of millions of people still believe a few hundred rotten cabbages in suits have all the dominion over us. Stay indoors, stay apart, listen to us, we are in charge.
Listen to me. You are free to go. You are free to go. You are free to go. You are free to go.
When number 6 runs down into the caves, does Rover represent the television? After his beating, number 6 is dragged back up towards the real number 2, and it's here we see Rachel Herbert with a little evil in her eyes as she delivers this episode's final blow. Are you ready to talk? I think we all know the answer to that one.
We have many ways and means, but we don't wish to damage you permanently. Are you ready to talk?
McGoohan's personal views on democracy and individuality permeate free-for-all. In interviews, he expressed a deep cynicism about voting, often describing it as a mechanism for maintaining the illusion of choice. One of his most famous quotes encapsulates this sentiment. Questions are a burden to others. Answers a prison for oneself. This philosophy underscores the episode's exploration of free will and manipulation. Despite its bleak depiction of democracy, Free for All offers a glimmer of hope. By exposing the mechanisms of control, the episode empowers viewers to think critically about their own societies. Awareness, McGoohan suggests, is the first step towards reclaiming one's individuality and freedom. The episode's enduring relevance lies in its ability to provoke thought and spark dialogue.
Well, I've done my way. Thanks for everything. I eat a zona.
In the era of disillusionment with political systems, Free for All serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of vigilance and critical thinking. Free for All is a masterpiece of television that transcends its time. Its incisive commentary on democracy, power, and individuality remains as pertinent today as it was in 1967.
Less work and more play. Thanks.
Patrick McGoohan's sardonic vision, brought to life through stellar performances and meticulous production, challenges to confront the illusions that govern our lives. As we navigate a world rife with political disillusionment, Free for All invites us to question, resist, and above all, remain individuals. Their sober wishes never learned to stray. You're free.
Don't worry. All will be satisfactory in the end. Give my regards to the homeland.